What's up guys, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and we finally have the Sony Xperia 1 in the house. This was initially announced during the MWC time, that's like February, and then it went really quiet, but finally we have it here. Let's go ahead and get it unboxed. So on the box, Sony and Xperia 1. I for one, I'm so glad that Sony have finally gone away from their very complicated and long naming system. Sony Xperia XZ3 Premium and whatnot. Like, I mean, it's just too much. So I'm glad that Sony have taken that feedback on board finally. And now we have something nice and simple. Xperia 1, and then we've got the Xperia 10 series as well. Let's open this up. And here it is. Let's put that, wow, that's very long. But we'll put that to the side for a second while we see what else we get inside the box. So as well as the device inside the box, you do have a startup guide, a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable, a fast charger. Now this is going to be able to top up your Sony Xperia 1 50% within 30 minutes. So that's really good. And then things get quite interesting. So firstly, we've got a USB Type-C to 3.5mm converter. And that is because the Xperia 1 does not have a 3.5mm jack. This is something that we're used to from previous Sony devices. And then we've got some earphones, but these are 3.5mm earphones. Usually you get USB Type-C earphones if it is a device without a 3.5mm jack. So you are going to be reliant on this converter if you do want to use the earphones that come out of the box. Interesting choice by Sony, but I guess it does mean that if you have other devices that do have a 3.5mm jack, you're going to be able to use these too. But anyway, let's get to the device. Plastic removal time. Whew, so satisfying. And we've also got some plastic at the back. And here is the device. The first thing that you'll notice straight away that it is super long, and that is because it's got a 21:9 aspect ratio for the display. The widest that we've got on a smartphone, or shall I say the most narrow. Sony call this CinemaWide, and that is because most movies are at this aspect ratio. The bezels are pretty small. We've got a top and bottom strip, but this is in no way a bezel-less device like we've got on many of the competition right now. However, that's not what Sony are aiming for. This is something that all of these other devices don't have, and that is 4K resolution. So this is a 4K OLED HDR display. And I gotta say, first impressions, it does look very good. Now I'm assuming not everything is going to be shown at 4K, and it's going to be adaptive, and if you're watching a movie or something, then it is going to switch to 4K. I can't actually see any settings to change the resolution on here for now, but there is going to be some 4K HDR content, so let's just go ahead and play something here. Okay, so most of the content on here seems to be trailers, and I'm not sure I want to play a trailer on here and get my content blocked. I'm assuming because these movies would be under the Sony umbrella, you can have these on here. We've also got stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. There is one here in the earpiece, and there is one bottom firing, and they do sound really good. But now let's take a look around the device. So we do have glass panels on the front and back with a metal frame. It does feel really premium. The color at the back is just flat. So I've got the purple version here. There are some other color versions available. It's okay. I guess some of you might like it. I'm now used to seeing some more sort of gradient finishes and some more interesting designs like we've got on many devices like some of the Huawei's, OnePlus, as well as Samsung. And then we've got the triple rear-facing camera setup. Now what's interesting is that all three of these cameras are 12 megapixels. Sony traditionally has been going for 19 and 21 megapixels and things like that, and this is something that I've always disagreed with because you're trying to cram more pixels onto a similar size sensor that you have on most smartphones, and Sony does make the sensors for most smartphones out there as well. Yes, some newer smartphones have 48 megapixels, but at native resolution, they shoot at around 12, and that is where you're going to be getting optimal results. So I'm glad Sony have kind of ditched the megapixel race and have now gone for consistent 12 megapixels for all three cameras. What are these cameras? Well, we've got a primary camera, we've got an ultra wide, and then we've got a telephoto. The primary camera is 26mm, it's got optical image stabilization, and it's got an f1.6 aperture. The ultra wide is a 16mm lens with an f2.4 aperture. And this has a 130-degree angle of view, which actually makes it wider compared to the widest that we've got on the market right now, which is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. That has around 123 degrees. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this stacks up against the competition. And then finally, we've got a telephoto camera, which also has an f2.4 aperture. And this has around a 52mm angle of view. It's going to be used for optical zoom as well as your portrait shots. Now, of course, I'm going to have to test these out. I've been hearing really good things, and it looks like Sony is finally looking at optimization. And if you do want to see a SuperSaf style camera comparison of this versus another device, definitely let me know which device you'd like me to compare this to. Hopefully I've got some spare time next week where I can try to put together a SuperSaf style camera comparison. Now the Xperia 1 also has Bions X for Sony, so Sony have been working with their alpha team to improve images and video, so colors should be good. Once again, these are all claims that they're making, and I am going to have to test these out more, but I'm very hopeful that we're finally going to be getting some really good cameras from a Sony Xperia device. Now we do have up to IP68 water and dust resistance. This is something that Sony has been doing for the longest time, so props to them for carrying that on. And on the right hand side, we've got quite a few buttons. So we've got a volume rocker, we've got a fingerprint sensor, and then we've got a power button separately. So the fingerprint sensor is no longer also a power button, that is separate. And we've also got a shutter button. Now, this is something that I do like about Sony devices. You can just press and hold this to launch the camera, and it makes it a lot easier to take images. Let's also test out the fingerprint scanner. Works pretty fast as expected. There is a bit of animation, so it doesn't seem as fast as other devices out there. Nothing on the left-hand side. At the bottom, we do have a USB Type-C input. We've got that secondary speaker. And at the top, we have the SIM card tray. Now, this SIM card tray also has space for a MicroSD card, so you can expand the storage on the Xperia 1, but it does come with 128 gigabytes as a base. For selfies, we've got an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with an f2.0 aperture, and internally, the Xperia 1 is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 processor, and you've got 6 gigabytes of RAM, so performance should be good. We do have Android Pie with Sony's UI on top. Now, Sony's UI will be a little bit more important here because of this very unique aspect ratio. We've got 21:9 multi-window, so you can have a few apps on the top and on the bottom, so that's gonna be quite a bit of real estate. So let's try this out. So here you can see that I've got YouTube open at the top, and then I've got Google Chrome at the bottom, and this means that you can watch a video as well as maybe browse the web at the same time. Or maybe if you want to tweet while you're watching a video, you're going to be able to do that. And having that extra real estate should be quite useful. Now there is Side Sense, and that is a side menu which you can use by double tapping the side. And I've always found this a little bit hit and miss. This is with the previous Sony Xperia X Z3. It works, but I think it's going to take some time to get used to. Yeah. For the battery, it is 3,300 mAh, which does seem pretty small if you ask me, especially considering the fact that this has a 4K display, but Sony does have lots of optimizations. And as I was saying earlier, I don't believe everything is displayed at 4K. It is going to switch between resolutions, so it'll be interesting to see how long this lasts. Now, pricing wise, this is starting at £850 here in the UK, so definitely paying flagship prices. And I really want to see how it stacks up against the competition. Why should you buy this Sony device as opposed to something like the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which is a very good all-rounded device, or something like the OnePlus 7 Pro, which is quite a bit cheaper, but does offer a lot for the money. These are things that I'm going to be trying to figure out over the next few weeks. And if you do want to see further coverage of the Xperia 1, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of that coverage. If there's anything in particular that you'd like me to cover with the Xperia 1, then definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do hit that thumbs up button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.